Hello, and welcome to another Forgotten Fantasy podcast, a Gamersological production. Today, we will be continuing the story of Tenshi and crew on his journey and various exploits, and I hope you enjoy. It will be the final chapter of Part 4.
Chapter 3. Anne picked herself up off the floor. The Kuwang struggled to his feet. Andre and John kowtowed, not too hard since they were already lying on the floor. Please rise, our people. Maru raised his hands. It brought to Anne the memory of Tonshi's reluctant actions at the wedding. This pale imitation had replaced him? No, it was the regent, the owner of the closet full of dead people. Anne shuddered. I feel sick. She fled to the bathroom and vomited up the evening's alcohol. Anne ran the water in the sink and washed her face with her familiar washcloth. The world seemed surreal, the bathroom too sharp and bright. She joined the men in the lounge. Settled in John's easy chair, His Esteemed Excellency, the Kuwang Maru, pulled his fangs from a dead Menendic baboon. Andre knelt, took it from him, and placed the creature in the recycle bin. John knelt and gave the Kuwang a mug of coffee. We thank you. Maru steadied the cup between his quivering hands and took a sip. Blockade of the Menendic crossing, Demeter said. John and Anne rushed to the control room. A grim commander appeared on the view screen. Prepare for boarding, traitors and kidnappers, he said. We wish to travel, Maru said from the doorway. His voice shook. Esteemed Excellency, we're coming to your rescue. The commander bobbed his head. The blockade of ships reappeared on the screen. Suddenly, Anne knew. They're going to murder you, Esteemed Excellency, and blame us. Get us out of here, Demeter. The ship floated towards the crossing. The cruiser sent a shot across her bow. I can't get through, Demeter said. I have to stand down. The Menendic cruiser caught fire. A flotilla of black ships, the size of each stencil with a large white circle, rode out of the crossing and fired on the blockade. Other ships floated in from the right of the screen. The Menendic military scattered. The strangers surrounded Demeter. Pirates, Andre said. Now you're really kidnapped, Esteemed Excellency. Ganji appeared on the view screen, and Herod behind him. The ghosts of the decommissioned flagship Mephisto would be honored to escort you, Esteemed Excellency. They kowtowed. Andre gave a shriek of relieved laughter. Yes, we wish your escort. Maru nodded and motioned them to rise. The military cruisers regrouped and fired at the ships. The rebel armada and Demeter jumped into the crossing. The military followed. The black ships slipped out the other side. The Menendic sentry ships let them by, then turned on the regent's cruisers as they exited. Pieces of carbonized ships tumbled by the planet Yukja. Civil war? No, Andre said. We must talk to Herod. This march must be stopped first. On the Mephisto, in the officers' mess, Anne recognized many of Tonshi's soldiers. All wore the white circle of the Painon. The wet nurse held Herod's baby. The nurse's toddler was nowhere to be seen. How can she bring Yashi onto a warship? Anne whispered to Andre. The regent knows whose child he is, Andre said. The baby's in danger away from his mother. Normally children aren't allowed on warships. He moved into the center of the room and started a coffee ceremony. Anne wondered where she fit in the status this time. She crossed her arms. Prince Andre presented a cup to Kuwang Maru with a deep bow. Maru raised the cup. We honor you, Lord Doragon and Lady Menendic, he said, and took a sip. John picked up a cup and handed it to Andre with a bow. And Herod took a cup, bowed, and somewhat reluctantly, it seemed, served John. Ganji served Herod. A soldier glanced at Anne, and Herod nodded at him, and he served Ganji. 10 officers, and only Anne was left. She presented coffee to the lowest status soldier. Maru presented Anne with the last cup. He winked at her in a condescending way. Anne scowled, took it, but refused to bow. After an awkward moment, everyone took a sip of their coffee. Preliminaries over, Andre got right to the point. We can't have civil war with the March planning another attack. We have to invade them now and worry about a coup later. It's not a coup to change the region, and Herod said, gave Andre a significant look. All she's done, especially to Jiaohao Tenshi. Andre snorted. You all let it happen. No, that's not right. He let it all happen. To stop the Civil War you're so hell-bent on having so the March can just walk right in. I'm going to rescue him. I expect to see you coming behind. Otherwise, all he's been through is nothing. I suppose I could recruit on Revenant, Aunt Harriet said. I suppose you could. If that son of yours means anything at all, Andre said. We're going with you, Uncle Andre, Maru said. Esteemed Excellency, Andre said, you can't. Your people need you here. Maru crossed his arms. For what? The use of another puppeteer? Who can we turn to if you're both gone? Ganji said. Follow me and we'll return free of the march, Andre said. With the Kuwang Johao. We'll follow him. The soldiers cheered. He's dead, you idiots, and Harriet shouted. It's a fool's errand, and to take Kuwang Maru with you. John, Anne, time to go. Andre motioned to them. Esteemed Excellency? A smile on his lips. Eldest nephew, come if you must. Maru stepped ahead of his uncle. Anne hoped John and she survived. We'll follow you, Ganji said. After gathering troops from Revenant, and Harriet said, we'll come.
Thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you next time on Forgotten Fantasy. We'll be starting Part 5, and you'll get to listen to Chapters 1 and 2. I hope you enjoy that. As well, if you can't wait and would like to get a full digital copy of the book, you can head on over to patreon.com/ForgottenFantasy and become a patron and get a digital copy of Blood Emperor for the cost of $5. Thank you very much for listening. We have Facebook at facebook.com/ForgottenFantasy. Our Twitter is twitter.com/GamersIllogical. And we also live stream video game content sporadically on our YouTube channel, and that will be under the name Gamers Illogical. We also have a new YouTube channel that we just started up, and we're going to be slowly adding music to it, and it's called Musical Moments with B. Eventually it'll be more than just me, but it'll start with just my recordings of like my piano playing and my violin playing. Well, fiddle/violin. I hope you enjoy that as well, and y'all take care and good health. Bye-bye now.